This is episode 4, Unpacking Traumas. I'm your host, Saadia Dior. The tongue is powerful. I'm releasing trauma at the core level. You have to stop speaking and manifesting illness such as depression into your life. Once I stopped speaking, I'm depressed, I started to feel better. I started to focus on my healing and my treatment. This is how it works. The tongue leads to your mind telling your body how to feel. Once your body feels that way, it acts on it and it makes you feel and operate in depression, which leads to you being in dark rooms, sad, hopeless, sometimes having suicidal ideation. For those of you who don't know, I have been diagnosed with PTSD, bipolar 2 disorder, and I suffer from anxiety as well. My mental health has affected me since I was a teenager. It led to risky behaviors. It led to me getting in trouble a lot as a result of my imbalanced moods and impulsiveness. There were times where I would be in other states and my family members would not know what I would be doing. I could be on campus with a friend at college, but just the impulsiveness of somebody calling me and saying, "Hey, Saadia, do you want to come to Philly for the night or Boston?" I recall one time I spent all my rent money when I was in my early 20s out of getting out of foster care, and I almost faced eviction because I spent all of my rent money on clothes and shoes and things that I felt would make me happy in the moment. A lot of my trauma and pain comes from my childhood. Abandonment wounds run deep in our nervous system and the subconscious mind. Being left by someone who promised to stick by us leaves an emotional scar. So my first traumatic event came from my mom, unfortunately, being incarcerated. I remember the day like it was yesterday. The police had knocked on our door and they took my mom away. And I remember us visiting her upstate in correctional facilities, in halfway houses, spending the night with her, and her just trying to do the best that she could to overcome her childhood trauma. Trauma is often generational. It's passed down from one generation to the next, to the next, to the next. And I really want to commend us millennials for really pushing through and overcoming our generational traumas that have been passed down to us to try to stop and prevent this with our own children. Every time we're close to someone, the subconscious mind goes into a threat state. And this is how my PTSD would work for me. I would self-sabotage. I always felt that if your immediate family couldn't be the best for you or give you what you had envisioned, why would God give you other people to do that? That is your mother's and father's responsibility. This is when I would sabotage my relationships. I would leave before I was left. It takes conscious inner work to learn how to trust someone again. And even in dating, you have to date someone who is very self-aware so they could talk everything with you and help you to feel safe. When you are abandoned, you are often left to figure out life on your own. And that was true in my case. I was left alone to figure out everything, how to navigate school, how to navigate getting my first apartment, learning how to pay rent, learning how to budget, teaching my daughter about credit and how many credit cards she should sustain, and the purpose of credit and savings, and most importantly, life insurance. These are the hard conversations that I had to have with my child and learn throughout life. I had to learn in dating what made me feel safe. Because of my past abusive relationships with men, I was not comfortable with a touch. And that touch could be as simple as a caress, a rub on the shoulder when I'm feeling overwhelmed or stressed. I would jump, and this would startle the partner that I was involved with. Some of them did take time to understand and ask me questions about the abuse and trauma so they could get a better comprehension of why I was the way I was. And for some people, I was too much. Treating your trauma with alcohol and drugs. But who can I cry to when I don't feel like being strong anymore? I'm not a big drinker. My favorite drink is amaretto sour. But I do recall periods of time where I was going through the motions of life and the emotional roller coaster I was on after my mom was incarcerated, after my son unfortunate passing and untimely death. I recall drinking a lot and using substances such as marijuana to cope, to help me relax, to help me sleep. I didn't want to feel strong anymore. I didn't want to feel the pain anymore. I did have bouts of suicidal ideation, and in June 2022, I decided to reach out to my therapist, who I've been with for going on 5 years now, because I have an extensive amount of trauma to work through, and I have done the work to get me to the point where I am now, where I'm more calm, I'm more self-aware, I'm more conscious of the decisions that I need to make, and that I am in control of my life. So I called her in June 2022 and I let her know what the situation was. I was very, very distraught. I was crying. I no longer wanted to live, and I needed to do something to take back control over how I was feeling. And I really needed to defeat and combat depression. She recommended me to go to LIJ hospital for an assessment. And I did. I drove myself. I didn't tell anybody that I was checking myself in. Not my partner at the time, my daughter, my mom, my dad, my siblings, aunts, uncles, friends, nobody. I decided to contact them once I was admitted, and I let them know this was my decision. And it was the best decision that I needed for me, because I needed to really, really go through those emotions without any outside influence, without any family influence, just really focus on what I was feeling with the passing of my son. I was having a difficult time not living the life that I had envisioned with a baby. Sleep in peace, Prince Dior. I just want to take a moment of silence for him. Nobody tells you how hard it is to rewire your brain so you can allow amazing things to happen to you after you've experienced so much trauma and hurt. I had to learn that, and not just learn, I had to really, really grasp and understand blessings exist, good people do exist, and there is a source for life outside of the hardships that we have endured. We have to really let this happen. Many of us have the same and similar story. We come from broken homes. We come from the hood, the ghetto, the bottom of the bottom. We come from childhood traumas and sad stories where we have parents and grandparents who are addicted to drugs, or often we had our grandparents raising us because our parents were in the street, or for some of us we had kinfolk and neighbors and family members who raised us. Some of our trauma even goes deep as to abuse, sexual, mentally, financially, physical abuse. My problem and most people's problems are that we don't want to give up on others. However, in reality, those people have already given up on themselves. I'm not my mom. I'm not my dad. I'm not the people that hurt me. And I had to really work through that in therapy because I kept attracting the same people in different bodies, whether that be in my platonic relationships or romantic relationships. When we stay in these relationships that no longer serve us, we have lost ourselves in the process. And it takes a while for us to get back to who we are truly meant to be. We have to understand and comprehend, because comprehension is key, that we cannot change people or want more for that person than they want for them. I loved a man so much that it broke me to my inner core, and everything around me started to crumble. Individuals have the ability to change, but they have to want it themselves and do what's needed to become that change. I had to pray myself out of my last relationship because I loved too much and I was being hurt by this man time and time again. Everything around me would crumble and all hell would break loose. There were times where I didn't even understand what had happened because nothing had happened. Dating someone who also has mental health diagnoses becomes a challenge. There would be times where he would be having a mental health episode, would pack all his belongings and leave. No argument, no nothing. I'll call, I'll come from work, not understanding why. And then I remembered my prayer. I prayed for God to remove anybody out of my life that was no longer serving a purpose and that was not for me. However, although God answers those prayers, I went against it and I would time and time again allow this man back until the last time while I was verbally assaulted and something clicked in me and said, Saadia, it was like a light bulb. Enough is enough. You don't have to keep allowing yourself to be hurt, baby girl. Time and time and time again. What are you doing? What are you trying to prove? Why are you punishing yourself? There is no amount of love he has for you that could convince me to stay. I was called out of my name. I was called derogatory names throughout the entire relationship. I was accused of things that I would not ever do. I was told things that were very disgusting, hurtful, and painful to listen to. I knew right then and there in that moment that that was the end. So I asked this question: how do you grieve the alive? Everyone talks about grief after the passing of someone, but we rarely talk about grieving people who are alive in the physical realm. I have asked myself so many times this question because most of my life I've had to grieve people who are dead to me and alive in the physical realm. I'm really just a blessed girl, and the load gets heavy. I get tired. But then God takes over, and I find the strength again to keep going. And I keep getting better and better and better. That's really just how my story goes. I'm still healing from it all. Not only past toxic relationships or heartbreaks, I am healing from the mistakes that I have made in my past. From family issues, friendship, from failing myself to my disappointments, to the expectations I couldn't reach because I was so focused on so many things, the wrong things at that. I'm also healing from times I've been betrayed by people I thought I could count on and trust, including my family and friends. My soul is still learning to clap for peace and to clap for the pieces of myself that nobody wanted to clap for. I am still in the process of figuring things out on my own. I am still healing silently and privately. I'm more focused than ever and ready to just become the best version of myself. Healing showed me how soft I am and how much I value softness. I'm soft yet strong. Softness is my strength. Sensitivity is my strength. I don't want to keep proving how resilient I am. I just want to be soft at all times. My soul creates and craves a soft life, a soft love, a soft career, a soft family. Now, I know I can only thrive when I can be soft. To the woman I was, I love you. To the woman I am, I'm proud of you. Saadia, to the woman you're becoming, I'm excited for you. Sincerely, yours.